There's an underground poll. Oh, Fortnite too, yeah. 6:51. Let's go to the KUM News Zoom room where we have standing by. We heard from the Action Pack, right? So the Action Pack had come out and, surveyed a bunch of candidates. And there's actually another pack here, the Progressive Democrats of Guam. And I kind of got their release and was wondering what these guys are all about. I mean, I know what Progressive Democrats are, but I thought it was interesting as they're now coming out with a survey that they want candidates to fill out. And then we also have the Vigilance Committee with Lee Weber, and they're sending out a survey. We're getting them on tomorrow, by the way, to talk about that. But
wait, there's also one that just came out from the Esperanza Project.
Right. This is the anti-abortion.
Right. And so they issued their report, and we can get to that later. But
Right.
first, let's
Yeah.
talk with
So
Jan.
basically, it's election, and there's a lot of political action committees that are coming out, and I think it's cool because this is a weird election. I really feel like, and I'm not throwing shade on the Guam Election Commission because we went to go vote, and they're working hard to make the process of casting the ballot accessible, right, during this pandemic. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of barriers. People are scared to go out and vote. They had this outreach voting at GW. Some of my friends went to vote and waited in line for an hour to cast a vote. And so I feel like there's a lot of reasons why people won't vote this election, right? And I just want to be careful. So what I feel like is like people who are really invested in this process, whether or not it's their Godzu that's running or they want someone to get in, these are the people who have the drive to go out there and cast that ballot. And so we got to make sure we go out and put our votes in there too, so it's not just like those people who are in manipulating the election. Maybe I sound paranoid, but I don't know. I feel like it's
Just a little bit.
a little bit paranoid. Okay, fine. And so I like these little action committees that come out and give us more information about the candidates because in a normal election year, in a normal election cycle, without a pandemic all around us, there would be a lot of opportunities. I mean, we're doing one. We do our KUM News Decision 2020, 9 o'clock, all the way to the election. But you know what I mean, Bree? There would be a ton of forums.
Yes, exactly.
There would just be many opportunities to hear where these candidates stand. And so what I feel is like a lot of them are just trying to make it to this election without really putting themselves out there. And so that I think it's dangerous. And
There's always that excitement right in the air. Now it's just like, I hate to say it, like doom and gloom.
Right.
But yeah, everybody just really needs to go out and exercise their right to vote. And like you said, the Guam Election Commission is making it really accessible for everybody. You just have to be safe about it. We went yesterday. We have a piece that we're going to run on it maybe tomorrow and just take you through the process. Obviously, I don't know the difference between the different temperature checking machines. But,
yeah, we're not the only one. Yeah. Like the one they got there, GCIC, I mean, we both kind of did it. I walked up and I'm like, sticking my forehead in front of it. And he's like, no, wrist. I'm like, do I put my fafa? Like, what?
Yeah.
Is it rectal? Do I got to turn around and moon the thing?
Yeah. I was shooting video of Chris. I really wasn't paying attention. And so when it was my turn, I tried to put my forehead also to the machine.
Which is what I had just done.
Yeah. And I'm too short. So I was like, I cannot reach this thing. And then you're like, hello, dumbass, it's your wrist.
Yeah, I know. And I was like trying to be like, what wrist though? What wrist, bro? Yeah, so it's definitely
but you do like two different temperature checks there.
Right, just to get in, right?
Yep.
So yeah, they're definitely trying to bring the process out to you guys, but it's just really on you to get out and vote. And I mean, I don't know, it's encouraging that they've had almost 4,000, maybe more now, people go out and cast ballots. Let's just get into the Zoom room though, where we have the Progressive Democrats of Guam. We've got Tony and Julian here repping the PDG. Good morning, guys. Tony, you might want to unmic your
unmute.
Yeah, we have Tony Azios and Julian Jansen. Morning.
Buenas, good morning.
Julian, good morning. Digging that headset, bro, with that microphone. It reminds me of Britney Spears.
Okay.
Right. I know, random. But guys, good morning. Well, just first of all, because, there's Democrats, there's Progressive Democrats. Tell us what's the difference between a progressive Democrat and a regular Democrat, or just tell us what a progressive Democrat is for people who may not know.
Well, we, the Progressive Democrats of Guam, are actually a separate organization. I mean, a lot of us are Democrats, but we're trying to sort of foreground the fact that we're also progressive and encourage other people to take a similar view to us.
I would add to that there's no one agreed upon definition of what a progressive is. So it's an excellent question. But generally, we do share a certain set of values and policy goals, and those can include, at the very least, greatly expanding healthcare, if not pushing for healthcare for all, environmental protection, workers' rights and safety, issues like that. And generally trying to searching for bolder solutions to then what we often find being discussed by the two major parties today.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the way I look at it, it's like progressive Democrats are Democrats who are unhappy with how centrist the Democrats are. Because the way I look at it, it's like you got people on the left, people on the right, and they always try and come to the middle. And when you do that, you kind of lose those ideals that you have on either side. And so Bernie Sanders, I guess, would probably be the best example. Do you agree with that, guys?
Yeah, I would. In fact, our group really came together originally to try to help muster up support for Bernie Sanders here on Guam for Guam's caucus. And some of our founding members at the Progressive Democrats of Guam were actually folks who were elected to serve to attend the DNC to represent Bernie Sanders and his voters. So, of course, we weren't able to physically attend this year because of COVID, but we did what we could from abroad or from Guam, just like all the delegates did.
So tell us, you're sending out this survey. What are some of the questions that are going to be on this survey you're sending to candidates?
Well, each of the questions is a little bit long because we give a little bit of an explanation before we ask it. But in any boiling it down, we're asking about unemployment insurance, which we think is very important right now with the COVID pandemic and the number of people who are unemployed. Ensuring that there won't be layoffs for government workers, because there's Action PAC and certain segments in the legislature who are trying to push for reducing the BPT by 1%, which would cut revenue a lot and also impact jobs. Another is fair compensation for essential workers. We feel like people should be making $10 an hour to work in the current environment where they're putting their own safety and those of their family at risk by working. We believe that employers should provide PPE. And then, of course, we have our healthcare for all question. And then we're asking for senators or potential senators to commit to increasing the resources available for protecting the environment.
So basically, it's 6 different survey questions, and they're open-ended, not a yes or no. They're asked to explain their responses.
Yeah, we asked them whether they basically support what amounts to our position, and then we're also give them a chance to explain. We actually don't give them a limit of how many words as well, so they just rattle on for pages if they wanted to, although I don't think anybody will do that.
What's been the response so far? Are the candidates responding? Because I know that the PAG, it wasn't that many people that candidates that responded.
So far we have two direct responses. We have one one statement that a candidate is going to respond, and then of course we have the Republican Party of Guam, who is denouncing us, and basically I kind of feel like that's Tony Atta saying he doesn't want to answer our survey. So, you know, he can go ahead and do that. That's fine. He could have just sent us a little email, but instead he wanted to do a press
getting a little
release.
catty here. So did I miss
and
this?
announce
Bree?
us.
Did I miss? Was there a release from the Republican Party of Guam?
Yeah, there actually
Yeah.
was.
Ooh. So what was it like? Only we can have
Oh,
a
here,
pack.
yeah, it says progressive Democrats prepared to kill our economy and increase unemployment.
Dang.
That was
Pretty
issued
classic
yesterday.
fear-mongering, pretty classic fear-mongering and pretty baseless is what it amounts to, Chris. And I think what a better response would have been answering the questions and being able to explain why or why not they support some of these positions. Because I would really like to go back and echo what you were saying, Chris, while introducing this segment, that this is merely an opportunity for engaging with our candidates and our incumbents to ask some basic questions that our voters want to know. And there are no shortage of groups who are involved in their civic duty to engage in the democratic process and ask questions of their elected representatives or those who hope to be their elected representatives. So while maybe some folks would like to say that we're part of some elaborate plot or scheme, what it really boils down to is we are really just a collection of concerned citizens. We are a grassroots group that is not taking any donations from anyone. This is all just volunteer time, and what we are spending is out of our own pockets because we believe that our government could be doing better. We are interested in hearing more of our candidates speak to the issues that thousands of Guam voters care about. And while we're not saying that the 6 issues that we bring up in our questions are the only issues that Guam voters care about, or even the only progressive issues, we do feel like they're important, substantive, and not just dancing around the edges of how we could make actual positive change on our island, but are actually pointing to issues that real voters talk about often, but we don't often see addressed by our elected officials.
So the deadline is this Friday to respond. And Julian, can you you said 3 candidates responded only thus far?
Well, 2 of them have responded with answers, and we appreciate that. And then 1 has committed to submitting something. I'm sure a lot of candidates are still going to get theirs in. It's just, that's what we have right now.
Okay. And so when the deadline comes on Friday, will the PDG then release the survey results and then also issue, I guess, the list of candidates that you guys endorse, similar to what the PAC did?
I mean, yes. Well, I don't think the PAC, I don't think the Action PAC really released their results of the survey. They just released who they support based on the survey. Yeah. And we think that's an important distinction. We intend to be much more transparent, and we want to share what candidates answer because we believe that people are interested in what their answer is. Technically we're trying not to endorse anybody. We're trying to instead just sort of highlight those candidates that we believe have, through their responses and through their public statements before and their actual actions in the legislature, if they're currently or have been a senator, to basically get a sense of how strongly they are actually supporting our core issues, which are the 6 issues. And, then we're going to provide our own sort of evaluation, and that's about it. But we don't look at it as an endorsement.
Why
It's
not
really
though? I
just
mean,
saying
what's
these guys align with our viewpoint, or they don't, or if they don't, then, or if they're not as close, then we're kind of intending to leave a lot of people sort of ungraded, if you will.
right? But why not just endorse people? I mean, what's the big deal? And then also, if you could give us some examples of, like, let's say, sitting incumbent, whether Governor Lulian Guerrero or, you know, Congressman San Nicolas, or who are some Democrats that we currently have in office that you feel would be able to be labeled as progressive Democrats? Just to kind of give people an idea. Oh, like that person. Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Sure. I'll field at least the first part of that. Why not endorse? That's a great question and something that we've spoken about internally. We don't feel like there's anything inherently wrong with endorsing, but we are truly a brand new organization formed just in the last few weeks to already have thousands of participating members. But we felt like at least in 2020, our participation would be best if we just kind of slowly got involved and stopped just short of endorsing, because really our goal isn't to just say that this person is good and this person is bad. We trust individual voters to make up their own minds, but what we hear constantly and what we concern that we share is that there's just not enough information. So at least for now, what we're really trying to do is bring attention to certain topics, ask substantive questions, and give candidates an opportunity to respond, to engage in this dialogue. So yeah, nothing against endorsing. It's just a decision that we as a group have made, and we're open to changing that later down the road. In terms of specific specific senators or office holders that we would deem quote unquote progressive, again, wanting to stop stop a bit short.
Wait,
of
this is just
endorsing
funny to me,
candidates,
Tony.
but
I mean,
will speak. I don't want to pivot. I'm going to answer your question, but sticking to policy. I think that we can look at certain bills that have been introduced that we would say, okay, that seems like an actual attempt at making substantial change while also honoring workers, environment, safety, and other being aligned with key progressive values. And one of those, something that personally caught my attention the other day is Sabina's introduced bill to look at ways of truly fighting the man-made wildfires on Guam. This has a cascading effect on the public health, on our economy and safety. And clearly, I've worked on this issue before with environmental groups here on Guam. A shocking percentage of the island burns every year, and that has terrible impacts that go beyond just blighted landscapes. So that would be one example of something that's been introduced lately that I would say, hey, that's great. We're finally addressing a problem that has just been lingering for years.
so is that an endorsement?
I think I answered that.
No.
I mean, I just think it's funny that we have a political action group that doesn't want to get political.
I
No,
wouldn't
we're-
say that.
Sorry.
Point taken, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is missing the point just a little bit.
Can you let us know who are the two that actually responded, and the one that said we plan to?
Yeah. So far, our response, well, the first response was very early, but his responses are a little short. It's from Ken Leon Guerrero.
Oh, right.
And then yesterday, I got a response from, Joe San Augustine. And then Kelly Marsh Titano has committed to answering. So I'm not. We're kind of waiting on that one, and of course, we're waiting on everyone else for now.
What happens if it's just the three? Because it's 3 days away for the deadline to respond. Do you plan on extending it, or?
Well, let's take this opportunity to encourage anyone running for office to engage with your voters. Here's a wonderful opportunity. I'm sure you're all lamenting at the dinner table with your families that, man, if it wasn't for this COVID situation, we'd be out there shaking hands and speaking to people. Here's a great opportunity. And, if you want to sit this one out, fine. We respect that. But at the same time, guys, it's not too late. These are important issues. Engage with the people whose votes you would like to earn. Republicans included. I know it's a little confusing to have Democrats in the name, but I would like to put this out there. We've said it. We've released this information to the news media, but we are not going to be highlighting answers. We're not going to be giving preference to registered Democrats. We are looking forward to being surprised by learning that some Republican candidates might actually share one or two, maybe 5 or 6 of our values. We are very open to building bridges across the parties. And the fact that the very first person responding was Ken Leon Guerrero is, I think, a good sign that there are opportunities here for folks to engage with us and find out that we might have more in common. That there are voters across the political spectrum, when you go issue by issue, are surprisingly progressive. Even a lot of registered Republicans.
I really took the action pack to task, talking about who comprises their membership and the obvious political leanings that territory comes with, and I kind of want to do the same with you guys. So, Julian, I know you're at Adeloop. Which agency?
I'm sorry.
You're an Adeloop staffer?
I'm not in the sort of political realm or whatever. I'm working within the Bureau of Statistics and Plans.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're going to do, response from Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano and her husband's your boss, I'm just wondering what kind of endorsement, not endorsement. And because I just feel like when you get an action pack, like, I want to know who's really behind it. And so, that being said, I mean, are you guys kind of like an extension of Adeloop, or are you separate and independent from the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration?
We're completely independent. I work where I work. I can't really help that. I like my job. I like what I do. But it doesn't really enter into this. And beyond that, I'm certainly not making the decision myself. And we're constraining ourselves to focus on the issues rather than just going off of our feelings. So I feel like we're going to be able to do a fair evaluation for everyone.
There was something,
And
Tony.
there are a lot of folks involved in this that have no connection to Gov Guam and Adeloop whatsoever. I can say with full confidence that the governor and the current senators learned about Progressive Democrats of Guam forming and sending out surveys when they opened up their email and got questions if they're a candidate, or when they read in the recent PNC article that our group was formed. So there was no backroom consulting, dealing, or asking for marching orders, and there won't be.
Tony, I wanted to follow up on something you said about the formation of the PDG, in part due to the unhappiness with the government, right? And so, the Democrats, they have the supermajority in the Guam legislature. What is your organization think of their performance?
I missed the last part. What is our organization? What?
Think about the performance of the 35th Guam legislature, the super Democratic majority.
Well, I think it's safe to say that it's a mixed bag. I think there have been many successes. I think that there have been some very excellent moments, but none of us are so partisan to just cheer for the team no matter how they're performing. We have definitely seen moments where we would have liked bolder responses, bolder reactions, or maybe a very, going in a very different direction. So I think we're cut from a cloth generally at Progressive Democrats of Guam that would be more in line with the sort of beliefs, values, and policy proposals that you'd see from someone not only, but someone like a Bernie Sanders, right? And while I think that there have been some very good moments in the last few years with Guam's Democratic supermajority and governor, we certainly see room for improvement. And I think, you know, we certainly saw room for improvement under the previous administration. And it's hard for any of us, I'm sure, if we're being realistic and nonpartisan and fair, to imagine any administration that we wouldn't want to see certain changes from.
Right on.
Julian, did you want to respond to that?
Well, I'm not going to like endorse everything in the legislature, but this is just for me, and you know we haven't really discussed this internally that much as to how the legislature is doing or anything like that. But I feel like a lot of or several of our issues have been touched on, even if they're not you know fully like enacted or whatever. Like the minimum wage has been or is still set to increase to $9.25 on March 1st next year, and we think that's, I mean, that seems like a good thing. That's more or less in line with our desire to have a higher minimum wage. With unemployment insurance, I mean, you know, Talina, it didn't really go anywhere, but Talina introduced a bill to provide some unemployment assistance. I'm not sure the funding was really there, but you know, the intention was there, and I think that's a very good thing. At the State of the Island address this year, the governor unveiled a sort of initial plan to move forward toward universal health coverage through a system of public self-insurance, and we're not endorsing that, but we believe that's a good step, and it gives sort of a substance of something to pursue and to explore. So I feel like a lot of different things have been touched on, and oh yeah, and as Tony mentioned, the environmental regulation on arson, you know, that's a big issue too. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of our issues have sort of been touched on to varying degrees, and so I feel like that it is a you know relatively open legislature for beginning to address some of the issues that we have highlighted.
Right. So you guys talk about universal health care. You talk about the environment and the unemployment insurance. But what do you guys hope from this new batch of elected leaders? What sort of legislation are you hoping they will introduce that would improve our economy, though, and fight this pandemic?
You know, I would say fair compensation for essential workers. These folks are literally risking their lives and the lives of their loved ones in order to help us bag our groceries or take care of our loved ones. And it's even before the pandemic, I think sometimes it was hard, you know, it can be hard to justify the low minimum wage. And now certainly with folks risking their lives and their families' lives with no additional compensation, I think it's you know, besides good economics in terms of helping to get more money circulating in the local economy, it's also just a matter of principle and the right thing to do. We also want to see PPE for workers who are, not all, but many workers are forced to provide their own PPE out of their own pocket. And we feel like that's an expense that's hard to justify for folks, and that it would benefit all of the public's health if we can guarantee that anybody who is deemed an essential worker who needs to come into the office or into the sandwich shop or whatever today can feel confident that as soon as they arrive, they're going to get a fresh N95 mask and whatever else they need to keep themselves safe and their customers. There are so many things that we talk about here that have direct material economic benefits for the people of Guam. I'll let Julian speak to this one, but certainly by cutting the BPT, which seems to be the number one issue for Action Pack, that is just going to have massive negative effects on the hardworking people of Guam, and this is certainly not a time to try to lay off hundreds and possibly over 1,000 more people. And just this trickle down economics notion that by having a few companies save more money by paying less taxes, that's somehow going to lower the costs for consumers or is going to lead to massive investment and hiring. We just know from decades of experience that's not how it plays out.
What if I set up an Action Pack, progressive Democrats, we get you guys on the same Zoom and just kind of go toe to toe on these issues? I think it would be great. You down?
Perhaps. I think so, yeah. But
I think that'd be really cool.
We're all about dialogue.
Yeah.
So if I could take just the opportunity, I think that right now unemployment insurance could do a huge thing. We do have the pandemic unemployment assistance, but right now that is set to expire on December 31st. So we don't really know what's coming next. The Republican Congress does not seem set to actually provide any sort of motion in the next month or so. Although it could change as people begin to see that it's really rushing up on us, and we're going to end up having a situation with a lot of people who are desperate and unemployed. But in any case, whether it gets extended or not, we need unemployment insurance. We've needed it for decades, and the fact that we don't have it is honestly kind of shameful.
Kind of mind-boggling.
Even a relatively small jurisdiction like the U.S. Virgin Islands has unemployment insurance and has had it for decades, like since the 1970s. So to me, I'm very passionate about that. I've been passionate about that for years. And anytime that anybody, would ask me, well, what would I do if I was senator or whatever? Unemployment insurance, absolutely. But I'm actually have no interest in running for elected office at any point in the future.
Okay, guys, we kind of got to move on to the next. But
I was just about to endorse Julian, though. I thought you wanted an
oh,
endorsement.
finally an endorsement. No, we'll bring you guys on when you get your responses. And I want to set up that kind of like Action Pack and you guys, because obviously opposing sides of the spectrum. I love that kind of dialogue. And I think, when you're passionate about what you believe in, and you're given an opportunity to defend it, then let's go.
Great.
Cool. Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity to
Of course.
speak on these important issues.
Right
Thank
on.
you.
Julian, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Tony,
Take care.
thank you, guys. Wash your hands. There you go. The Progressive Democrats of Guam. Here on the link, it's The Breeze, 93.